here for another Data Miner Kata. Welcome to another Bringing the Thunder, an exciting kata, an exciting tutorial for you and for me to do together. And we are here joined by Wart. I believe it's his, what was it, second, third, fourth? Fourth time you're here. But just in case someone is watching for the first time or hasn't seen the other ones, shame on you. Who are you and what do you do at Skyline?
Yes, my name is Wart. I am a DevOps engineer at Skyline. I work here for 4 years almost.
Okay.
And I work in the data exploration domain.
Right.
So our domain is responsible for providing user with tools to explore, visualize data. Think about dashboards, logo apps, GQI.
Yeah, same team as our good friend of the show, Seba, as well.
Yes.
So excellent. So I'm gonna guess we're heading in that field or that area of expertise again. So dashboards, logo apps, GQI queries, ad hoc data. Which one is the topic of today?
Today we will talk about GQI.
Okay.
So more focused on ad hoc data sources within GQI.
Retrieval of data to then use it in your visualization as the alternative to connectors or other items where it's complicated or more complicated to do some very complex stuff. GQI and ad hoc data is more like, okay, just give me some data real quick.
When you're building a dashboard, you say, okay, I want to add that data to the dashboard.
Yeah.
You could use an ad hoc data source.
You could use that immediately. Okay, great. Epic. So we've seen some GQI before. We've seen some ad hoc data source before. What's going to be special about today?
Okay.
What you've got for us?
So today we're highlighting a new feature we have introduced to ad hoc data sources.
Okay.
But maybe before we get started, I can give you some context where we are today and how
maybe a
quick
quick summary, quick overview. All right.
Indeed, because I have prepared like one slide with some visuals.
Slide? It's not allowed. Get rid of it. No, it's fine. We'll take a single slide.
Perfect. So we haven't seen in the past that the query builder exists. It's there to communicate with GQI. You can use it in dashboards and low-code apps.
Yes.
We have seen that there are so many different data sources built in. Think about elements, parameters, interfaces.
Yes.
You can fetch all data built in through that query builder interface. But sometimes, and we've seen it in the previous kata, that you don't have enough with the built-in data source. You want to add data from somewhere else to add to your dashboard. Think about the kata, about the satellites. Maybe you remember it?
Yeah, I do remember the satellites.
We fetched a public API through an ad hoc data source to put that data into our dashboard.
Right.
So ad hoc data sources are very powerful to really grab data from wherever you want.
Yes.
A CSV file, an API endpoint, an external database, whatever you want.
They're really, really, really good when you say, even though the service or the device has a lot to offer, I'm really just interested in a single piece of it.
Yes.
A part of it. And then you grab that using that.
Yes.
Generally, if it's like a service or a device that you want to completely manage, at that point, probably you're looking at a connector. But if you really want to say, okay, well, just some data to visualize and with what I specifically want for my project, you go with this.
You can go with this.
Or you can go with this.
Yes. So today we will work further on that. Like we have introduced a new object, a new feature, which lets us interact with the data miner system from within an ad hoc data source.
Right.
So that's like something new we have recently introduced in 10.3.4. So that's also the prerequisite for today.
Okay.
You need to have a system with 10.3.4. And there we can use basically that object to send messages to SLNet, but also to start up helpers or to basically whatever you need to interact with your data miner system from within an ad hoc data source.
Okay, so within the ad hoc data source now, it's just not only grabbing the data from an external party, but you are also able to grab some data from the system itself and even maybe manipulate it a little bit.
Indeed.
Okay.
And why would you do that? Well, maybe sometimes the built-in data sources are not enough at this moment in time, so you can then really build your own data source to fetch data from your data miner system. Or maybe you have like a very complex tailored use case, which the built-in data sources cannot support it yet. So you can already do it with your ad hoc data source by using that GQIDMS object.
Okay.
Just some reasons why you would possibly use that object. And for today, we also will work out a use case. So it comes from a user at our Dojo community website. He asks, okay, I want to show the active client connections in my dashboard.
Right.
So currently, there is no built-in data source that supports that. So we can create an ad hoc data source which basically uses an SLNet message to fetch these active client connections with that GQIDMS object.
Right, because you're pretty much saying, okay, instead of using an external service on an external device, I actually want to monitor my own monitoring system.
Yes.
And actually grab data from the data miner itself.
Yes.
And that's what we added now, that flexibility to be able to do that, to point, to be able to grab some data like that. Okay, cool. So we've got a tutorial then that does...
We will work it out now, so...
Exactly that, or
exactly like what we see here on this slide is like a small image. There's a table. It has 2 columns. So we want to create a data source which basically returns that data. So we will at the end of the session we will use the data source we've created, and we should be able to create a table just like this. 2 columns, a client with just the name of the client, and then the connect time. When did the client first connected to the system?
Perfect.
So that's what we are going to build.
Any prerequisites? Do they need to install something, or do we start from scratch with this guy?
We can really start from scratch. The only thing is 10.3.4 to have all features available. That's the only thing you need. And we will work with Visual Studio and DIS to streamline our process.
All right, so Visual Studio, you'll need to have that one as our development environment currently, and DIS, the Data Miner Integration Studio.
Yes.
If you don't have those yet, there are some links on our Dojo page. You can grab those from there. And actually, maybe, sneak preview here, maybe at the time of release of this video, you can actually find DIS in the marketplace as well. So we've recently been working on that.
Cool.
On my side. But we're here about this. So let's continue on that, GQI.
Yes, all right, let's dive into it. We can open Visual Studio, and I will just open a project without codes. So continue without codes. I will just create a new automation script solution to create our data source. I see. I will click new projects, and normally I should have like a template saying automation script solution. All right, let's go for that one. Let's click next. I will say kata.
Sure. So we're using, if you have DIS installed, indeed you will have a whole bunch of templates in there.
Indeed.
And you can just open Visual Studio, say create new project, select automation solution, and fill in the wizard.
Fill in the wizard, add a name which is applicable for this. I will just go for clients because we are going to create data source that fetches the clients.
And that really sets up your environment to be able to just start typing and start.
Indeed. Before we get started, I just check if the NuGet package is at the right version.
As you said, 10.4.3.
10.3.4.
10.3.4.
10.4.3, 10.3.4.
10.3.4, okay.
10.4.3 would also work, but 10.3.4 as well.
If you really want to be sure.
If you really want to be sure. So you can go for 10.3.4 or just go for the latest stable one. It's also possible. Just make sure it maps on your data miner version, otherwise it can be some mess. But for me, it's okay with 10.4.6. I have a DAS system which I will deploy.
Will be the latest, greatest anyway.
Okay. Indeed. So I click install. It will make sure all the dev automation is at the right version, and then we should have all types we need for today's session. Let's write some code. So I will open this C# file, the clients. Will contain a lot of boilerplate. Let's just throw it away for now. Okay. Let's start with like a clean sheet, but without anything. So you might remember from the previous time, a GQI ad hoc data source is basically a C# class which implements an interface.
Yes.
So let's create that class. Let's say public class clients, and then we will extend the interface, the iGQI data source.
Okay.
So as you can see, this is a simple class. It extends an interface, but it doesn't have anything yet. And also VS Code says you do not implement the interface. So let's click implement interface.
Right. Let Visual Studio create some boilerplate code for us based on the interface we provide. Great.
Indeed. So you might remember from previous time, we have two methods, the get columns, the get net page. Every data source you could see a bit as a table. So every data source has columns, has rows.
Right.
So as you might remember from the slides, we will have 2 columns, clients
connect
and
time or something.
Connect time. So the get columns, we will return an array of 2 columns. The first one being the the client, which is a string. So we will do a new GQI string column.
Okay.
String column. All right. And let's do that. Then we need to fill in a name. So let's say client. And then the second one is that datetime column. So the connect time, it's datetime. So we can use the new GQI.
Right. So defining the types that will be in those columns, it's going to be a string type. It's just going to be some text.
Yes.
And then the other column being the datetime, because we want to know since when were they connected.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. It's like that. So we have now returned these two columns from within our method. Let's throw away this exception. So for the get columns, we are done. So everything is fine right now. The get next page, we still need to implement that method. But of course, to populate the page, we need the data.
And
right?
This is the magic.
This is the magic.
This is the magic of this particular kata.
Yes.
I'm gonna guess we're gonna grab something like DMS connection or something called like that.
Yes, we will grab the GQIDMS object. I will just for now return like an empty page, so like return new GQI page. All right, and then I need to fill in the rows, but currently these are just empty, so let's do for array.empty.
Okay.
For GQI row.
So just making them empty now, so you can maybe showcase what it looks like without data. Is that the intention?
Yeah, or to just remove all the errors. Perhaps we could already show it, but maybe we can just wait for like the final moment.
Yes.
More exciting, right?
More exciting, yeah.
So what do we need to do here? So we still need to, first of all, fetch data. Secondly, we need to parse or basically process these responses
right
to a GQI page.
Yeah.
I'm like caps and no caps.
I mean, it's fine. It's just a comment for yourself.
Yeah, it's a comment. Like we have a little of to-do list.
Yeah.
First, we fetch the data. Secondly, we parse that response to a GQI page.
Right.
Grabbing the data will require us to use the GQIDMS object.
Okay.
Because through that GQIDMS object, we can interact with basically the data miner system.
Right, and grab some of that data.
Okay.
In this case, the client connections probably, yeah.
Indeed. I will just quickly show you a bit of documentation. So if you go for GQIDMS, if you look for it, you will find a page, and I am probably not connected to the private network. I will quickly switch.
Can happen. You've moved buildings.
I've moved
You're
buildings.
Not used to this building. Usually in the smaller one. And now.
And it's
welcome to the big building.
Great.
Okay.
I think I should have access now.
There we go.
So GQIDMS class. There's all documentation on this page, but more importantly, you can find that this object is available in the iGQI onInit interface within the onInit input args. So if you want to use this feature, we need to implement the iGQI onInit interface.
Okay.
So we can add it to our class basically. So let's say iGQI onInit. Let's find that one, and here we have it.
All right. So when you want to use that, you've provided another interface which will generate your boilerplate code, your templating.
Yes.
You know, you're working that class into what you really needed to be able to communicate.
Indeed.
Makes sense.
So let's implement the interface. We have one method onInit, and that has arguments.
Yeah.
So in these arguments, you might find the DMS object. So that's basically what we need. So the DMS object is our object to communicate with the data miner system. All right, so we will use it in the get next page to actually fetch data over there.
Okay.
So we will try to store it in our class locally. So let's say private GQIDMS underscore. I'm not used to QWERTY.
I mean, you're doing really well if you're not used to QWERTY and you're using a QWERTY keyboard. I mean, I'd be a mess and a half.
So if I make typos, it's because of that. So
okay.
So yeah, like right now we have the onInit implemented. We have stored the DMS object locally and our DMS property. I will just return the default for this method. We need to return something. We don't care right now what it is. So let's just return default. So right now we have already access to our data miner system from another ad hoc data source.
Right. So we have an object representing our data miner system.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's now fetch the actual data. So we will need to create a message. We need to send a message over the DMS, and we will receive a response.
Right.
So let's create the message.
Okay.
Let's say request equals new get info message.
All right.
That get info message requires one input argument. For that, we can use the client list info type. This is the request. So if we send this to SLNet, it will respond with a list of people that are actively, or clients that are actively connected to our system.
Okay.
So what we can do now is we can send them that request to the DMS by just doing _DMS dot send messages. We need send messages because we will receive multiple responses. So you need that method.
Okay.
Also in the docs, all different methods for that object are documented.
So for the GQIDMS.
Yes, indeed. And normally for every object we use in this ad hoc data source,
a little bit documented.
You should indeed be able to find it in the docs.
Okay.
We will then cast these responses to make sure that these are of the right type.
Okay.
I think are the login info response messages. All right. So now we have the request created. We send the request to the DMS, and the DMS will respond with some responses of type login info response message.
Perfect. So indeed, so we've now gained access to the guts of our own machine, as it were.
Yes,
which has that process SLNet you've mentioned, which is running in the background. That thing knows almost everything about your system, and this GQIDMS gives you the ability to send a message to that process and say, hey man, tell me a little bit about XYZ. In this case, tell us a little bit about the client connections.
Indeed.
Okay, so we've gotten that data back now.
Yes.
As if we sent it to another source. We ask a service, hey, give me some data. Now we're asking data miner, hey, give us some data.
Yeah.
How do we parse that and put that into our pages? I believe is the syntax here.
Yes, we just need to process the responses into one page.
Okay.
I won't type it. I will just go to docs. It's also available for everyone, the tutorial.
Yeah.
I will just copy it. It's just
for time.
Indeed. We will link it probably somewhere.
The documentation will link it up down there or up there. Or
up there.
There's a shaking. No, not up there. Maybe we'll have it float around here. And use up all our special effects budget on moving a link across the screen.
I will just copy it and I will paste it. Right.
Maybe we can make a link like, those very old websites where if you move the mouse, it moved away. Remember those? No,
I don't.
I'm too old. You just hurt me.
Sorry.
Okay.
I do remember them.
Man, that's worse. Okay, let's keep going, man.
So we have the responses. We have created, with the copied code, we have created an empty list of rows. And then we iterate or we loop over the responses. Each response will be created. For each response, we create a new row.
Okay.
Each row has 2 cells.
Right.
And the cells use properties from these responses to...
Right, and one of them is going to be the name or the username of the client, and the other is going to be the connect time.
And that's exactly what it is. So we can now change this empty array to
provide us the page we just made.
Yes, so let's say rows dots to array. Let's populate the rows in the page, and that should be it.
It should be it. So
that should be it.
The drum roll moment where you publish that, or we
are now going to publish it to indeed our data miner system. Maybe before we do that, I will just make sure that our client.xml has the right parameters, because you might remember every time you need to create an ad hoc data source, you need to check that compile as library box, and you need to provide a library name. Because these are compiled as libraries, and then these libraries are used by GQI.
Right.
But we can make sure that this is all done for us by just adding these 2 parameters to our XML declaration file.
Yeah, that one will make sure that is what happens.
Okay. Yes. So I will just say kata clients. I will make sure our precompile is true. So this should be okay. If we now publish it, it will automatically mark it as a library. It automatically compiles
it. Within data miner as a library. Okay.
before I publish, maybe one more thing. You can see in the docs as well, like a data source can have a GQI metadata attribute. And this is to give like a more friendly name or a more user-friendly name to your data source, which is then used in the query builder.
The drop down or
Yes.
in the UI when you want to add it to a low-code app or a dashboard as an input. Okay.
So then, yeah, it will be a bit more user-friendly to consume it. So we could say kata client connections. And I think we are now ready to publish it, right?
Cool. Okay.
Of course, I need to connect with DIS to my DMA. Let's say DIS DMA connects. This one, it will now connect to it, and that shouldn't take too long. And then after that, I can click this publish button, and it should be available
on your agent, yeah.
On the agent. All right, let's click publish already.
All right, let's see what happens. Drum roll moment.
Yes,
drum roll moment.
Drum roll moments.
Okay.
I can already go to my data miner cube. Let's say go to automation. It's not there yet. Maybe it's still busy. Executing connect is still busy connecting to my system. Might take a little bit of time, but shouldn't take.
You
too
did
long.
move buildings.
I did move buildings.
You did move buildings. I'm guessing your agent isn't on this guy.
No, it's a DAS system.
It's a DAS system. Okay.
Oh,
Doesn't look like that one.
the server did not reply. Might cost contract mismatch.
Okay. Network connectivity issues.
Yes.
Always fun.
Well, we can work around it if we
Yeah.
need to. So let's create our own automation script. Should work normally.
And
We
then
publish it and we
Put
can
that data in there then instead, yeah.
end it. So let's say client connections. Let's add a C# code as action, and let's just paste it.
Well, actually, let me think. You might be better off if you, in Visual Studio, save it as a DMApp. Oh, no, actually, never mind. That won't work either. No. You're doing well. You're doing is probably the better option, yeah.
Well, I think for everyone that hasn't no Visual Studio, they can actually also just
Do it like
code in
this.
the
Yeah.
interface. It would also work. So let's go to Cube. Let's say paste our code here. Of course, we need to manually check the compile as library option. Let's say kata clients. Let's double check with the validate option to see if there are no errors. It's fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
So you don't need to add specific assemblies or things.
No, they all use the built-in ones like
Data miner, you install it, you get those, and you have them available.
Yes.
Makes it easy. Good.
So let's save it. And if we go to the dashboard app now, we should be able
Right.
to use our data source.
Yes.
So let's see how that works.
It was compiled as a library. I didn't. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was compiled as library. Always good to check because that might be a tricky one to forget.
Yes.
I go to the dashboards app.
Mm-hmm.
I will just create a blank dashboard, a new one. Kata create, and if I would go now to the queries, which is the section in the dashboard to create your GQI queries to talk with
Yeah.
GQI.
So we should find that one.
Indeed. So if you click plus, we create a new query, and then if we go to get ad hoc data, we find the Kata client connections data source. So that's the one we created.
Right.
You might remember that's the name we provided in that attribute. So
Okay.
the Kata client connections,
Yeah, there was that metadata.
that metadata,
for GQI specifically. Yes.
indeed.
Okay, so we move that, we drag and drop that in there.
We drag it on our dashboard, and then we pick a visual, let's say the table for now. And there we go.
You already have it.
So we have now a new table
That
with
shows you the clients, which in this case mostly are processes running internally
Processes,
that
indeed.
connect with. Yeah.
You can also see that I connected to this data miner, to the dashboard
Yes.
at 11 o'clock. So there are also other clients that connect. So this is basically giving you insights about who
Right.
connects to your system. Basically.
Very powerful tool. Very flexible. The ability to not just grab data from an outside source, but also from the agent itself.
Yes.
I can imagine you can use that to do all sorts of if-else conditional things where you want to grab data only if something else in your data mining system
Yes, indeed.
acts in a certain way. So
Indeed.
very cool. Was there anything else in particular or very important you still wanted to show, or should we tell them to screenshot?
I would say we can already screenshot this and they can learn some points.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well then for everyone following along and joining us, you can screenshot this page, well at least not this one, but the one you made, I hope. Send that in, as usual, you will find all the information on how to do that below, and you'll get your nice DevOps points. Other than that, what I would say, thank you very much for making time, creating this tutorial, showing us how it works, what it does, and the flexibility of it. We've gained another awesome feature within our software package, always fun to see. So for everyone watching from YouTube, do not forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you never miss any of our new videos. And other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.